Well, thanks for tuning into Talking Point. Yet again, I would say today, the talking point today is about consumer durables, consumer electrical companies, all things consumer, and how easy or difficult it is for managements of large Indian corporates or conglomerates to try and guesstimate what will happen in the course of the near to the medium term. Let's put that across to Mr. Shekhar Bajaj of Bajaj Electricals. Need no introduction. He joins us right now on Talking Point today. Mr. Bajaj, good having you. Thanks so much for joining me. This is Neeraj here. Good morning yet again. What's your sense, sir? I'll start off with asking you basically that how difficult or easy it is for somebody who's run this business for so many years to try and predict what will happen in the near term because of this very unprecedented situation.
I've been involved with Bajaj Electricals for only 40 years. So therefore, this is something which obviously is something which is never even imagined that, you can have one area which can have problems, but having a not only all India basis, but all world basis is something which is unthinkable. And therefore, because of which, I think it is something where, because we don't know the future, one has to anticipate that what's going to happen. And on that basis, one works on that. Pipeline, and when this lifting took place, so it about almost a month now the work has started, and we were able to do in the month of May about 60-65% of our last year's turnover in the consumer products in the month of May. So that's a very good sign, because many of the areas and many of the cities and many of the states did not open up. So to that extent, now basically one of the things which people thought that because of the 2 months lockdown, there would be a real shortage and there will be a big demand which will be coming for the products, because there will be a pent-up demand.
Yes.
So actually, in terms of pent-up demand, only the pent-up demand has really come for our fans. Coolers, of course, there was enough inventory in the pipeline, so the sale of the dealers and distributors has been completely used up, but there's not so much of primary sale from us. But fans was very good, and I think in the month of June also is going on well. So we've done about 60-65% in the month of May. We expect that we'll do at least 80% in the month of June, and July onward we should come back to normal levels. There is not any major pent-up demand as I expect, but one thing which is going to happen is that organized sector is going to benefit out of this lockdown, because many of the small companies and unorganized players will not be able to reopen in this new circumstances. So we will gain market share.
Okay, interesting. So since it's difficult to predict what the consumer could do, let me first try and get a sense from you as to the nuances of the supply side, sir. The supply chains and what's happening there, because a lot of consumer durable companies, air conditioner companies, for example, that I had spoken to in April and May were saying that because China was shut down, material, etc., was not coming in. I'm guessing all of that is sorted. What about you, and what do you think about the industry at large? Is the supply chain issue sorted now?
See, luckily we've got all India, we've got 21 godowns where the inventories are there, and we had sufficient inventory for about 2 months, and therefore because of which even if the manufacturing gets slightly delayed, the consumer will not lose out because of the inventory, because the main thing is the movement of material from our godowns to the distributor was most critical. And because all the godowns were opened about almost 15 days to a month back, the material availability at the distributor level is quite sufficient, and within a month's time I think the supply chain should take care to fill up all the gaps. So I'm not expecting that demand is going to be such that we will have a supply issue.
Okay. I've grown up seeing the ad of Bajaj ka pankha, Kamal ka pankha. What you're trying to say is the Kamal ka pankha will be available when consumers want it. The supply will not.
I hope so. I hope there's a supply issue, which is a good news, that if you have a big jump in sale and it goes to 200%, then of course, if it is sold out, it's a great news.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Having said that, sir, I think a lot of people believe, I mean, I think you briefly alluded to that point, that even for the seasonal products, there was some inventory, and therefore, what has happened or what will happen even in the pent-up demand largely is pushing off inventory and not dramatic new production upsurge that will be needed. For the industry at large, would you reckon that would be a safe assumption, sir?
I think so for all. I think because what happens is that our year ending is 31st March for all of us, and therefore suddenly on 23rd of all of us have to shut down. Last 1 week is a very major business time, so all of us build up inventory to do the major billing in the last 1 week of the month and of course the year ending, and therefore to that extent all that inventory was left in our godowns because of this. So therefore, that is something which now, of course, is going to be made available to all the dealers. So to that extent, all the industry, I don't think I've heard of anybody saying that we're losing out sale because there's a supply issue. And luckily for us, because these are all small appliances and fans and all, so it's not in item like
Hmm.
two-wheelers and four-wheelers. It's a different ball game.
It is. Could you, I mean, I'm guessing aside of Bajaj Electricals, you'll be talking to a lot of your peers as well. What is the general perception of the first 10, 15, 20 days of the lockdown opening up in terms of response? And again, I presume large part of it could be pent-up demand, but is it encouraging, sir, to your mind and in the minds of your friends who are running various companies, or is it a bit lower than estimated?
No, it's much lower. As I said, that because we are in the fan business, and fan is very much wanted, but companies like Philips and others, Surya and all, who are not in the Philips and all who are not in the fan business, the lighting business is nothing wow about. So they are at the 40-50% level when we are at 60-70, 60-65% level, because obviously fan has taken a major chunk for us. So, so that is how the small appliances and lighting has really shaped up. So it's obviously there is nobody who's complaining that there is a supply issue. That's very important to understand.
Got Okay, got it. We were looking at some notes from some dealers, for example, retail stores or dealers, and they seem to mention that there's a shift in categories in consumer durables as well, sir. You present, I presume, in one of those, which is coolers, and there was a lot of demand for air conditioners and coolers, even though large portion of the season was lost because we were in a lockdown. What are your thoughts there, sir?
See, we are not in the air conditioner, so I would not be able to answer that. We
Yeah,
are in the coolers. So
coolers,
coolers, as
yes.
I say that, yeah, cooler. What happens is that most of the sale takes place before March, which is being sold in
Okay.
April, May, but the stock is built up because it's a 15 to 20 days season only. It starts sometime in the middle of May and is over by end of May or early June. This time, of course, the summer got delayed, which is good for us. So therefore, the demand is there. But now, like for example, last week, everywhere it has rained. So suddenly from a temperature of 46, 47 degrees, it goes down to 37 degrees. The sale of coolers just goes zero because it's a seasonal item. And if they say, okay, we can manage without a cooler for next 1 month, then I buy it next season. So
Okay.
it's a very seasonal item. While fan, of course, is bought throughout. It doesn't matter whether it rains or it doesn't rain.
Okay. Um, Couple of thoughts, sir. Since we spoke about what the supply chain issues could be, etc. In the last 2 months, 3 months, any substantial challenges or any substantial learnings for you as a company as well? Because a lot of managements that I spoke to said that this taught them a lot of things which they had not thought of in the past. Anything that has stuck to you, sir?
Absolutely. One is now the future is technology, innovation, and there'll be a lot of more increase in the online business. The online business is substantially going to go up, and a lot of people, personally, I think this virus thing is not a few months problem. It's going to continue for some time, and therefore a lot of and also we have been looking at whether we can do more work from home, and that is something which will require a different type of mindset, and that is expected that there will be a lot of people who can work from home. We don't need to travel so much, just now for two months. Otherwise, we said every week we have to travel. Now we don't travel and nothing has happened, frankly speaking. So I think that mindset of that have to travel, you need to have a customer focus, customer meet is very important, but one doesn't have to do it so often as had been done earlier, and therefore the traveling would reduce, work from home will go up. So I personally think there will be a lot of technology, lot of uh, online will go up substantially.
Okay. Tata Consultancy Services, I think a month ago, Mr. Raj mentioned that over the course of the next 4 or 5 years, I mean, I could be wrong by a year or there,
Yeah, 70, yeah,
but I think they mentioned that
75%.
75%. Yeah. What's your sense, sir, for a company like yours, which is so consumer facing, etc.? Would you consciously look to shift a large percentage of your workforce to work from home? I mean, it does multiple things, including saving costs as well.
I don't think the percentage is going to be anywhere near that, but at
Of
least
course.
according to me, it may be 20-25%. And the other thing which is more important is that we can do a lot of video conferencing, and also even when I say work from home, you can work from office also, but you don't have to keep going physically to different places. Like if one would go every week to Delhi to have meetings, they can avoid that traveling. So therefore, the 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 airline industry cannot be having a great future.
Okay, no, I was at so let me try and ask you the other way. I reckon that some of the compliance costs, safety costs, etc., all of that would go up. Making people aware of the measures that you're taking would go up. Would costs such as these coming off help managements in a meaningful way? Because I presume the last few years, such costs would have been a large portion of your SG&A. Therefore, would that come off, sir?
See, one thing is very clear that one has to become more cost conscious, and therefore we are really looking at that very, very carefully. We had all the time just now to see what are the things which we can avoid, where the duplication is taking place. So all those, so cost saving will become very important in the competitive world. Uh, so we are still hoping that in the next 9 months, because we have June will be, as I said, 80%. The next 9 months we should be able to achieve our expected target. So at least we are hoping that this year we will be at least able to reach last year's level. At least we hope that we should be able to have a turnover. I'm not talking of consumer products only. The EPC is a different ball game where we are having a different strategy in EPC, where we are saying we do only business which are profitable business, while here is our core business, is our consumer product business. So consumer product, we hope that we should be able to catch up and do at least what we did in the last 12 months of last year. We should do it in this current year also. Though otherwise we were looking at a positive growth that may not come.
Okay. Any opportunities that these 2 months of observing has thrown up, or maybe just inadvertently came up for you, Mr. Bajaj, because of unorganized to organized, or small to big, or China being, or people believing that they want to buy made in India? Anything that has come up?
Absolutely. One other very important aspect is that, as you said just now, you use the word China. Yes, that made me think about it. That a lot of people are now saying that we would like to avoid and try to reduce our dependence on China. And therefore, to that extent, with our manufacturing setup being so strong and our domestic market being so big, it makes a lot of sense that if we look at the export market, and OEM manufacturing for people in Europe who are fully dependent on China, there's hardly any small appliances and fans being made in Europe or USA. Most of it is being made in China, or maybe some amount in Thailand and Vietnam, but mostly in China. So here's a great opportunity for us to become an OEM player for various European and American companies.
You would look to do that, Mr. Bajaj? Are you reaching out to companies, or are companies reaching out to you as well? Because you are a
Yeah,
brand
actually,
owner, but there is no harm in being a, a back-end manufacturer, so to say. Are you looking to do
see,
that?
we are, yeah, yeah, absolutely, because we don't have that issue, unlike a Bajaj Auto where they 45% of their turnover is export. Our
Yes.
export is very nominal, so by giving to somebody in OEM their own brand, it is not that they are competing and hitting us in Bajaj brand in those countries because we are not much present anyway. So
True.
giving an OEM brand has no issue at all for us.
Wow. So would you need to, or would you look to expand some manufacturing capacities for this, or would the current utilization levels permit you to carry out both the things?
No, no. I'm saying it all depends. I mean, just now we have sufficient, say, capacity to that 20-30% if OEM require, there's no problem. If you require
Okay.
more, then there's no problem. In India,
Okay.
most of our products is more of assembly operation, and therefore to double it, it may take 6 months, 1 year, 2 years only. So it's not something where there's major heavy investments required. So if the demand is there, we will be able to produce and uh, that's not a problem at all. So we are
Got it.
hoping that that happens, that we will have to expand our capacity to take care of that need.
Yeah, so a couple of things, right? Fans demand should expand so that there are supply side issues. Maybe some of these things could happen as well. Hopefully, all of that happens, sir. I have maybe a couple of last questions, Mr. Bajaj. One is, um, you in the last year, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but Indian government orders helped you a big way in getting a bump up in specific segments. Do you reckon that that could happen, or because of the strapped balance sheets of both states and the center, there might be issues for large government orders to come in, even for products that you manufacture?
See, in the EPC business, the issue which is for us a very serious matter, government says please pay your contractors, pay everybody all their full salary, all that they are saying, but the amount which is supposed to be due from government to be received by us, which is there, is not coming. So therefore, from a cash flow point of view, what government is really required is that for our EPC business, our various project business, what is due to us, the government must pay us so that we can pay to our MSMEs, we can pay to our contractors. They say you pay everybody, but as far as we are concerned, we will not pay you. So therefore, there's a cash flow mismatch, which is being stated by everybody in the industry, that government must at this moment talk about giving cash, not saying that okay, you can get loan, you can get all that, because loan will have to be repaid. If it is something which is available, that okay, this is the grant which we are giving you, then to that extent we can pass it on, and therefore to that extent not have continuous liabilities. Today the problem is that repayment of, because of these 2 months of lockdown or 3 months of lockdown, there's been a lot of cash flow issues. So everybody is very cash tight.
Got it. Well, certainly hope that situation improves sooner rather than later. I won't ask you too much about Bajaj Electrical, sir, because your numbers are still pending. But we'll have a chance to talk to you once again, hopefully, post your numbers are out. But stay safe
On
until then.
19th, on 19th is our accounts meeting.
On 19th. Okay, so we'll probably talk to you on the 19th or the 20th with regards to that as well. But Mr. Bajaj, pleasure talking to you about the space at large. Thank you for taking the time out.
Thank you.
Viewers, thanks for tuning into this edition of The Talking Point.